Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Shaykh Amir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mort. Oh, no, what happened to your camera?
Mort's gone.
Mort.
It's my disappearing act.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Did someone kick over some cable? Yeah, let's sort this out. Okay.
Yo, there I am.
You there?
Hello, are you there?
Shaykh, can you...
Yeah, there we are. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Oh,
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
muy bien, ¿y tú?
I hope the Maca book video went through. The weird thing about OBS or the video software that we use is that we can't hear the video playing when we're
You technically
playing
can
it.
if you set up it right, because you can hit uncheck the odd and mute. I've done it on mine.
I've tested it out.
I have to teach you.
I think my camera is like maybe the way I'm sitting.
Yeah, you're going to have to like pump that one up and then move mine to the left.
Which one is my this one, right?
I'm that
Look
one
at
right there.
That's right there.
Give some Viagra to that camera, please.
Yeah, just get it up. Just
Shit.
get it up. Just
Shit.
get it up, Amr.
Shit. You have to lift it up sometimes with your hands.
All right.
That's
bet.
Oh, whoa,
Okay,
not that much.
okay,
There we go.
That's good.
All right. Hey, and that one moves to the left a little bit. Just to your left. To my left. There you go.
There we go. Behind the scenes activity here at the
More.
Mamluks.
There you go. I think
right.
I'm gonna bump into it on the way in.
I did not touch it.
The big
But
nosy
you're
ones.
welcome.
Yeah, I just noticed your hat. Is that a shukr hat?
It's a company that does sugar-esque type stuff for a lot cheaper.
Like Burda clothing?
Is it Burda? I think it's Burda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did it show you? All right.
Yeah,
Folks,
of course.
we have a very special episode. Make sure you guys click on the old like button, subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and make sure you throw in a comment in the comment section below.
Always good.
Sometimes you could just put in first, but there's not that many comments to put in, but there's always someone who puts in first, and there's also another guy who's who he always puts like Islam is the way or something like that, and
I hate that guy. I hate
Sayyid
he's like-
Sayyid or something.
Yeah.
I ended up reading that one, so I was like, okay, this is pretty informative.
No, it's a spam message, bro. He's trying to make them Dina Lahi stuff, bro.
Is it?
Like all Christian.
Oh,
What's going on? Morty.
Hold on, let me
Morty,
see.
hello.
I thought I had the
We're having a
volume down.
podcast right now.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to.
Yeah,
make
so
sure.
far, okay, we're letting the views start up to 22.
Yeah. Should we start off with our major announcement?
Nah, let's wait to the end.
You want to wait to the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did you guys watch the fight last night?
I just saw the highlights this morning.
A
So-
lot of people saw the highlights. Those of you who saw the highlights did a big disservice to yourselves.
Why?
Because it was a pretty good card, man. It was those three fights on there were really good. The Aldo fight, the Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold.
Wait,
and-
did you think the Aldo fight was good? I thought it was kind of it wasn't really Aldo.
No, I think it was a good fight that he was completely
Neutralized.
neutralized completely from all of his skills, man.
Yeah.
I
But
just didn't see it. Yeah, go ahead.
the more important thing is our Muslim brother Kamaru Usman was fighting.
And unfortunately, Shaykh Amr was not siding with the Muslims this time.
Sheikh Amir said there was
not what
there's some
He started
shubahat
with
about
the
his.
kuffar.
The thing with Kamaru Usman, for those who don't know, he comes from like a mixed family of Christians and
Yeah,
Muslims,
his mother's Christian, his
and
father's
it wasn't
Muslim.
clear or apparent, or maybe it was
No,
clear
no, it was.
early
It
on.
was. It
Early on in his UFC career, he was a Christian. Somewhere down the line, he, under the influence of his brothers or other fighters, he ended up accepting Islam. But he didn't do it like overtly. Like he never said, I am Muslim now." It was just something that happened in the background, in the behind the scenes activities, and he never.
Actually, he never came out and said it.
Yeah.
What happened was it just
didn't.
over the footage that comes out, you see him praying like a Ramadan
okay.
Tarawih, and like little subtle things. Like right now, he just lost. He says alhamdulillah for everything. Like he's
Oh, he said that. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
But during the fight,
Yeah.
someone here on this table
We won't mention names.
was cheering on Leon Edwards. He was doing a Leon Edwards dance.
Oh, yeah.
During the fight.
Okay,
Is
bro.
it because he's from Birmingham and he's probably Muslim by default?
Birmingham. No, I'll tell you what happened. Look,
He's from Dar es
I
Salaam.
have been watching and following Leon Edwards, and I knew that he was a better striker than Kamaru Usman, and I thought he had a chance to beat Kamaru Usman with striking. With wrestling, there's no way.
So that's understandable. But the problem is that when he got that fluke kick to the face, he
Not a fluke
jumped
kick.
up
It was
for like
a
5
timed
minutes.
kick.
Oh,
Okay, let's give that some background. I'll
Yeah.
tell you why that happened.
Did he take his pants off?
No,
Almost.
When no, I was wearing a thobe anyway, so it didn't
Yeah, he
matter.
almost lifted up his thumb.
So what happened was Mort told me, and Sim told me. It was a little more Mort.
No,
than
it was
Sim.
me, not Sin.
A little bit, but it was mainly Sim was kind of on your side and said there's no way he's gonna win. I said, look, this guy is very capable, competent of winning. And you guys said, no way, you're crazy. So I was like, all right, we'll see. He's gonna win for sure. I told
Listen.
you. Did I say he's gonna win for sure?
I don't know what you said, but the bottom line is you were cheering the kuffar.
I wasn't cheering the kuffar. I just like look.
Where's your wala?
I'm not a fan of anyone in the sport. I like watching a good fight. Cool.
I always support the Muslims.
Unless when it comes to Habib. Habib's different.
Me and Sim, we always support Muslims.
No, I
no
support
matter how
Muslims
bad
too.
they are.
And I wasn't even sure
Unlike
if
certain
Kamaru.
individuals we were watching
And
the
to
fight
my
with.
fairness, I wasn't sure if Kamaru Usman was a Muslim at the time while we were watching the fight last night.
Sheikh, I reaffirmed it to you. You still had no change of
No,
heart.
I said I
You
didn't
had-
hear him announce it.
You had no change of
I
heart.
heard John Jones say Alhamdulillah once after he
No,
won his
but
fight too.
The thing is,
Everyone's like, "Oh, John Jones is Muslim," and he's like, "No."
yeah,
I'm not
Sheikh,
Muslim."
a Muslim brother who came to you, gave testimony he's a Muslim, and you still didn't take it. So
Anyways, it was a great fight.
By the way, for folks who don't know this,
Spoiler
Sheikh
alert.
Amr does this notoriously throughout Super Bowls. He's ruined championships
Ruined our night,
for
bro.
company. We were all rooting
guys
for
give me too much credit.
one team. Then he makes dua for the other team, and I swear to God, it
I
happened.
never made dua, bro.
The,
I never.
the most epic one was the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Patriots were down 28-3, and Sheikh Amr was like, "Well, I don't think it's over yet." And
No, I
that
said
money-
they're like it's over. I was like, it's not over. The Patriots can still win. It's like, no, it can't. You crazy? It's impossible. Statistically impossible. I was like, it's not statistically impossible. It can happen, and they ended up winning. No, you guys give me too much credit. I have no control over that. I just think more optimistic than you guys do.
So bottom
That's all it
line is that Sheikh Amr had the gift of making dua and getting accepted, and he never makes dua for us. So this is
I
the
make
problem.
dua for all Muslims. I make dua for all of you guys.
Make
But-
dua that we get 20,000 subscribers right now.
I mean, I'll let you
No, 100,000.
100,000.
Why do you only aim low? This is
Why
the,
are you aiming low?
This is the
That's true.
poverty mindset. You know when
Poverty-
you
No.
This is the
he's
poverty
right.
mindset.
No, dude, this is what the psychologists always talk about. That when
He's
you
right.
give a poor person $1 million, they think, "Oh, I'm just going to buy a house,
Yeah.
or a mansion or something," and they don't think about reinvesting and all these
Right.
crazy
No,
things.
you're
that-
right, but the thing is that I'm dealing with Sheikh Amr, so even getting like a dua is like, I'll take what I can get from him.
Oh, okay. Number one, you guys give me too much credit, bro. There's a lot of people, inshallah, that have much more better dua answering capabilities than myself. As children are the best people to ask for dua. But anyways, I never made dua for the Patriots. I never made dua for Leon Edwards. I just am optimistic, and I see things. I can see things clearer than you
I
guys
love
can.
how
That's
Sheikh
the
Amr
problem.
is on the defense here. He's like, just
No, I can just see things better than you guys
I
can.
don't make dua for the Patriots. I don't make.
You mean he wasn't doing kunut for
Yeah.
Leon Edwards?
No, bro, I can just see things better than these guys. That's all it is.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, there's blue eyes devil that play get somewhere with them. They're good for something.
So,
Anyways,
my last thing I'll say about this is your victory with Leon will be short lived. I think our brother Kamaru will come back very strong. He will come out victorious. Leon, enjoy your moment now. You said what was he keep on repeating?
Look at me now.
Look at me now.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's going to be your last moment. We're going to be looking at you because
Yeah.
that's just
I don't know. I think
Listen.
he decoded. I
Let
think
me
he
say this, bro.
decoded,
No.
Kamaru Usman.
No.
decoded.
Yes,
Whoa,
of course.
listen, he got
for
demolished
3 rounds.
for 3
Wait, no,
rounds.
But
Steve,
no. If you guys should have watched, the actually post fight presser. It was actually a really good
Hold
post
on,
fight presser.
Amr. When you say decoded, I think of like Volkanovski decoding an entire brain.
No, like Chael
Hold on.
Sonnen decoding Anderson Silva.
No, but I'm saying no, but decoding no. That's an insight. Everyone knows, man. There's fakes that people get caught with. But as far as the game, Kamaru Usman showed that he's a dominant fighter. Like, I mean, all three minus the first round,
Plus
you
he
know,
lost, yes.
but it doesn't matter. He's a dominant fighter.
And he lost.
Second, third, and fourth. Yeah, I mean, flukes are gonna happen.
It's not a fluke, bro. That was timed.
Listen, bro.
That was not a fluke. Every analyst
Listen.
saw that it was timed, bro.
It could be time, but I'm saying it's a fluke win that he got. I'm
Someone's gonna
saying
say it's not
Okay,
recording
so
right now.
one of the brothers is saying, what if there's a Kamaru versus Hamza fight? Who would you guys root for?
wait.
Who would I root for?
Do you think? Oh,
No, I'm not going to root for anybody. I'll tell you who I think is going to win. I think Kamaru Usman will win that one.
yeah. I think Kamaru.
It's a bad matchup for Hamza because he's a straight wrestler, and I think that the adjustments Kamaru has to make is very little.
Edwards is a far better matchup for Hamza.
Yeah,
than Kamaru.
But a striker like Leon Edwards is the only one who has a chance because he's lanky and he's taller and he's a little bigger than Kamaru Usman and he's a really good striker. The thing that happened is first round, he had a lot of confidence. The 3 middle rounds, he lost his confidence. If you guys remember, when he was sitting down, when the 5th round was about to begin, his coach actually yelled at him. And if you look at his face, I rewatched this, he had this spark in his face and he got this thing back. And when I saw that yesterday, when I saw the fight, I knew he was going to win that round for sure. If you see his fight, he got something back.
I thought he gave up. He had this defeated look.
Not in the 5th round. Look at the 5th round again. When he's sitting on the stool, he's sitting sideways. He's not sitting like how. And his coach is yelling at him, and he opened his eyes like this. And there's something that happened to him where he got his confidence back.
Come on, dude. The first.
Every analyst is saying this, bro.
I don't care. Listen, the first 2 minutes of that fight, there was no urgency on the side at all. There was no spark.
It doesn't matter, bro. He came through. A true champion comes through, bro.
I'm saying he came through, no problem. But I'm saying that kick itself, it won't be repeatable.
It'll be repeatable.
Like, for example, what I'm saying is that
capability.
what Usman did to him in the rounds 2, 3, and 4 is repeatable. And it's demonstrably repeatable.
Yeah.
He can ground him, pick him up, toss him like a rag doll, and punch him. And I think now Usman knows that he can do that to him that easily. I think he'll do it a lot more. A lot more.
Yeah, and he's going to train for that too, though.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards is going to train for that
Many
too.
people train for Usman. I'm saying, listen, that's Usman's fighting style. There's nothing new out of Usman that came in that fight. He already saw that in tapes before, bro. There's nothing new he could.
I am not denying that. When I say he decoded him, I'm saying that type of striker, he hit him when it counted the most. The same way Chael Sonnen was wiping through Anderson Silva and he pulled that triangle in the last round. It's the same thing. There's barely any difference, except this was by way of striking. That's all it was.
Shaykh, can you talk a little bit about your hat and the significance behind it?
There's no significance. It's a cool style.
Is this the hat that the Azharis get after they
Not at
graduate?
all. It was just a really cool style.
Don't the Azharis get a specific hat
Yeah.
after they graduate?
What's
that
red one, bro?
Is it the red fez?
It's white turban-esque with the it's called the I'm forgetting the name.
Is it?
Not the tarbouche.
How come you never wear it?
It just caused too much attention, bro. I
So
don't like it.
that's what we need. That's why we got 10,000 subs, dude.
That has nothing. My subscribers have nothing to do with.
If you wore the hat, we'd be at 100K.
not
No,
at all.
I think I want to distance himself away from the Ashari. That's why he doesn't wear it.
Oh.
That's what it is.
The Asharis and the Fatimids, the Fatimid founders of the outside,
It just way too much attention.
and
bro.
Sisi.
It almost seems for me like when I wear it, it seems almost like a costume. Like people like thinking of you as something great when you're.
I
actually
agree,
wearing it,
but I do think you should wear Coca-Cola more often, though.
What land is that hat from though? Who?
I don't know, man. I just got it from that Burda company, bro. Burda clothing.
Burda clothing.
Yeah.
They should be sponsored, but we shouldn't be wearing clothing from institutions that aren't sponsoring us.
Hey, you guys asked me about it. I'm just telling you. I didn't think you guys
We'll give them a free. We'll give them a taste of our subscribership and how much people will flock to them once they find out. Little do they know.
I like it. Sim class act.
Folks. So, guys, we have a whole lot other issues going on. Do you guys want to hit up this whole Ingrid Mattson issue before we move on to our final subject and our guest will be appearing on the show?
Yeah. Did you watch the clip, the video thoroughly of what her presentation was about?
There's a video?
No, there's no video. There's just a Twitter.
No, there's a video. I mean, her video about Omar radiallahu anhu and Aisha radiallahu anha.
No.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts about that, Sheikh?
Look, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see the tweet. So do you think we can talk about the tweet first?
No,
about the video.
We'll set up the video and
Yeah.
then we'll
Okay, so the video, one of the brothers posted it. It started from like minute 31 of the video that they sent on the TMM group.
anyone who wants to join the TMM group, by the way, you can join as a patron. Become a patron today, and you will be allowed to enter in the group and have these salacious topics discussed about before we talk about it on the show.
You will be allowed, permitted.
It's kind of like the backstage, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is,
kinda
right?
Like the backstage.
I honestly, I think that's actually has more value than anything. That the TMM chat, just
Yeah.
because we talk about a lot of this stuff before.
Plus there's stuff that's on those chats that like it's not even in the public sphere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Secret conversations.
yeah.
Yeah.
So become a patron today. Minimum
what happens.
$5 a month. Not a whole lot. All right, guys, go ahead.
Yeah,
Chip.
so the
Sorry
video.
about that.
Yeah, so I personally look, man, I don't there's those type of videos I can't stand watching them for more than 5 minutes. So I watched like 4.5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
From the 31. So it was a video of Ingrid Mattson talking about Umar radiallahu anh having to acclimate to the changes of this new Muslim world now that he was living in, and he had to fight himself a lot. Like, I get what she was trying to say. He was really trying to fight himself to become a better person, and there were times outright where he couldn't control himself, couldn't control his anger, and even the way that he would talk to women, and that kind of stuff. And then she kind of talked about Aisha radiallahu anha and like her tendency of having jealousy, and it just came up. Look, when academics try to talk about a very nafsi, when I say nafsi, like I don't mean like really spiritual, but a very closeness to Allah type situation, you can't really talk about it on an academic level. You know what I'm saying? It becomes too bland, it becomes too dry, and that's a dilemma I have with a lot of people who are just strictly Islamic academics or try to come off as strictly academic, is they try to diagnose people from the past with what they've developed now,
Yeah.
as far as faith-based counseling and understanding, right?
So you're saying that they were highlighting the problematic effects or the things that they're struggling with their jahiliyyah is essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that had to do a lot with it. Thank you for you mentioning the word jahiliyyah. Yeah, but I think that look, his jahili ways, he was still trying to get over those, and he still had an issue with those, and just not understanding that some people have a certain type of human nature.
Yeah.
Right. And she'd mentioned one thing, and like fairness to her, she said, don't we all have weaknesses, and don't we all have this daily struggle with, but other than that, I just have this issue with people trying to diagnose people of the past and their personal, the way they are and their personality,
Especially when they're buried right next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like their status is
like, I wouldn't call it a level of blasphemy. I wouldn't say that at all.
Can I
Yeah.
just say something?
Yeah.
This is borderline Rafidi behavior, bro.
Yeah, I think we should watch the video too.
But I'm saying, listen, you have no business at all. I mean this quite frankly. I don't care what academic level you're on, what organization you lead. Aisha radiallahu anha, for me, is a litmus test whether you are someone
we
who
remember from the last podcast, so we remember that.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is a litmus test to see how much you love the Prophet ﷺ, and B, whether you are truly upon the creed of Ahl Sunnah.
Yeah.
It's literally the litmus test.
Look, a good trait to have, bro, is if Umar radiallahu anhu was here and Aisha radiallahu anha was here, would you say those words in the presence of Rasulullah about his wife and about his ashab?
Even if she was here, would you say to the mother of the believer, would you say this to her?
Heck no, dude.
Yeah.
But the good way to think about it is like you're talking about, I have this issue with academics having this entitlement of thinking that they've dissected everything and they come to the conclusion with their enlightened thinking of their academics, so they have the right to speak about the Sahaba how they want. No, dude, get the heck
You know
out
my
of here,
bigger
bro.
problem with this is that when they're called out on it and say, we're just approaching it from an academic lens, from a secular. I don't
That's
care
their
how
excuse.
I don't care how you approach it.
Our tradition overrides all of that academicness.
No,
bro.
I'm saying at some point, right, your religious identity, your spirituality has to supersede and set boundaries for your academic
Yeah.
career. right? If not, if you're willing to, you can't live double lives. You can't say to the Muslims, I'm going to come up to the conference and say, you know, Aisha radiallahu anha is the model wife and the model sahabiya and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you go on the other hand, talk with a different group of people and say, well, you know, she has problems with jealousy and this and that. I mean, what are you saying?
Yeah. Look, like I said, bro, every single one of us as believers, a good way to behave with the Sahaba and Rasulullah, frankly, is if he was in your presence and you had an opportunity to talk about his ashab and his wives, how would you talk, right? Like Allah says in the Quran, like Imam Hanifa was asked, right, who was right, Ali or Muawiyah, right? And he stated the verse in the Quran, "Tilka ummatun qad khalat, laha ma kasabat, wa lakum ma kasabtum." Right? That's a ummah. They've passed. They've achieved what they've achieved, and you're going to achieve what you have achieved, and Allah is not going to ask you about them. Right? The reason why that verse is there with Imam Hanifa's understanding is that that's a special class of human beings, and yes, they are very, very privileged. For the rest of Muslims, we have to think of them as people who are privileged. They're a special group of people, the ashab, especially the people of Badr. There's very, very special people. They're the best of generation, right? And the best of generation requires a special treatment, right?
But you know, there's one more thing too, is that it also comes to a point where what is next? Like how many other figures, how many other incidents? And a lot of this, what it does, Sim, is that it comes into this realm of understanding the psychology of people present, future, and past under the guise of modern psychology. And a lot of it is tied to certain agendas. Oh, you know, the patriarchy has been abusing women for so long. Some of these women in the past behave this way because of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Some of them, like for example, we all know the famous incident of how we get the tasbih, right? We get, like, you know, with Fatima radiallahu anha, when she requested a servant and the Prophet said, let me teach you something better, right? And imagine understanding that from a modern, the modern academic lens. Oh, well, you know, it's her right. The man basically told her that she couldn't have it, and, you know, basically wasn't emotionally available for her, and basically sidelined her feelings, right? Didn't take her feelings into account. I mean, you could make at what limit could you stop yourself at? If you want to psychoanalyze everybody, you become devoid of the actual religious ibrah, like the lesson that you're gonna get. Is there something that you're looking at?
No, I thought he was pulling up the tweet.
Oh
No, I'm pulling it up.
yeah. So what I'm saying is that, like, you lose all spirituality. What's going on? Oh yeah. Oh, he sent it to you. Anyways, listen. So the thing is that you lose all spirituality because you're just simply approaching it from an academic lens, right? And then in academia, everything and everybody is fair game for criticism.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the dilemma.
And we don't believe that.
But that comes a part of, they think that they're enlightened because they can do that. But they have to understand that Islam has a completely different criteria. The way we criticize, our type of criticizing is very graceful in the way that Allah and His Rasul want it to be. There's a certain way that we, in decorum, that we follow, right? But that's very true, man. That excuse, oh no, we're just saying it academically. No, bro, that doesn't work over here, man. You can say that all you want with your colleagues in your universities or whatever, but not with Muslims, bro.
I mean, doesn't that make someone feel like a bit like hypocritical? Look, I mean, like you're addressing one crowd with one thing, and then you're addressing a different crowd with a different thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would be able to, like, say, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I feel comfortable with my opinion. Like, and this is the same thing, to be honest. That woman, Amina Wadud, she went, I mean, granted, it was much more severe in what she said, but then the same excuse was given about who I'm just addressing a modern audience, a different audience.
Yeah.
And that was the way they justified their criticism. And they're using the exact same tactic. So while Ingrid may have not gone to the same extreme, however, what is to prevent them if you're willing to accept that excuse that it's a different crowd?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, man. I know. Again, I don't, me personally, I don't think that she was trying to be someone who's like,
So
what does it say?
FYI, there's no such thing as the quote, the criminal code of Islam, end quote. But if you mean the Sharia, then yes, it holds people with taklif responsible for their actions, although there are many shubuhat that could be relevant and only a judge would decide in any particular case.
So wait, this is in response to a deleted tweet from Sheikh Salman Younus of Cambridge Muslim College, who had messaged, or he had said that a pretty mild tweet, that if there's a relations that are happening between a teacher or a student, and that there's no coercion involved, there's no like force that's involved, that it is zina. Pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like, wait, there's no force, there's no coercion happening, there's no.
It's mutual.
If there's sexual relations happening, and and no one's being forced against their will, then it's zina. So this doctor, so-called doctor, this is where academia takes you, responds that there is no criminal code.
Oh, that's
Islam.
the backdrop.
But if you mean the Sharia, then yes, it holds people with taklif responsible for their actions, although there are many shubuhat that could be relevant, and only a judge would decide that in any particular case. But it continues.
Yeah.
So let me pull
Let's
that.
pull that up.
Where are we here? Here we are. Okay. So in any case.
Okay. In any case, this information we share is for the benefit of those whose work falls under the jurisdiction of Criminal Code of Canada. No claims of universality or ultimate normativity are made here, nor a denial of agency of a person.
Of any person.
Wait, I think that was 3 or 4. We got 2 or 4. Is there 2 or 4, or did she mislabel it?
I think she just
Okay,
mislabeled it.
I'm sure that at CMC Cambridge, who's Solomon, right?
Yeah, that's his.
Yeah, is teaching their chaplains and imams about the laws and regulations of the lands in which they live, and are urging them to observe them. Should I read the bottom
Yeah.
part? Okay.
Oh, there's a 2.
The Sharia also allows
Oh,
the
this
Wali
was
al-Amr Sultan governing authorities to place further restrictions on their appointed officials, even limiting their otherwise lawful personal relationships. So there may be a ta'zir punishment applied if a judge assesses misuse of power.
Okay, so
That was the second of 4.
That was the second, and then
Yeah.
I don't know why Twitter showed it like this.
I think she responded to that in the wrong order. That's why.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, essentially, what she's trying to say is that, while basically what she's saying is she's conceding that he is correct, but in many words, it's a whole lot of nothing. All she's saying is that but there's probably circumstances where a person could be held liable for that, even if it was zina. But maybe what she's alluding to is people of power who have abused power can be held liable for what they did in order to coerce someone into doing this, right? And she's trying to say that a judge who's qualified would have to look at the situation, and then they could come to that conclusion that, well, maybe this girl was kind of compelled in some way by the position of this person.
Okay, was this tweet that Sheikh, what was his name? Younus?
Salman Younus.
Salman Younus, was he talking about an incident that actually occurred?
I'm not aware of what if there was a specific incident that they're talking about. I think they're talking about in generalities. But the point is that Ingrid Mattson, tagged his workplace, Cambridge, CMC Cambridge.
This is where it gets problematic.
So here's the problem: when you start tagging people's workplaces when you're having a discussion online, you essentially hamstring, you cut off the discussion, because now what happens is that what you're saying is under the view of your bosses,
organization,
of
right,
the organization. Now you're operating under the organization's backdrop,
Yeah.
So it's a very dishonest way of discussing. Many times it's done by people who are social media or social justice activists who want to get you fired or want you to get in trouble with your employers. And it really showed you, or at least us, many of the people who saw this discussion transpiring online, it showed a level of academic dishonesty, a high degree of weakness on Ingrid Mattson's part, where she can't have a discussion with someone without actually just engaging with them, rather than threatening them to get fired.
Looping in their workplace.
So I mean, this is a big black mark on her part, and I think many Muslims should be careful when they discuss with her in the future.
To be fair, I think this is just a one of many. I mean, she's a pro LGBTQ advocate. All these weird things she does. I mean, it's all the stuff.
She's part of the Heart organization as well.
These are just
she's pro LGBTQ.
I mean, I don't know what she's actually support, but she with organizations that arbitrate for their rights and for inclusion.
HEART. That's the organization she's
but
the principal guidance.
Alhamdulillah, we got our superhero Imam Mark mainly. He's all over that, bro. He's laying on smackdown on Twitter. Yeah, he has no one to account for, no one to answer to. He just goes in ham on him, and he's calling them all out. He said, "I've been telling you, like now it's funny to see you two fighting each other." Because you guys were the same ones who, because apparently this guy, Salman, whatever. Salman, whatever his name is. I don't know his name.
Salman is like an Arabic name.
No, I don't know his name. I don't know Salman or Suleiman. I don't know what his name is. But anyways.
He did a hybrid of Salman and Suleiman. But anyways,
I don't know the guy. But nonetheless, apparently there's tweets going back and forth where he was attacking other, imams who were saying, well, you know what, because he was talking about how imams, or Mark Manley had put out that, there are so many imams that get inboxes and messages from lonely women who try to throw themselves at them, and so if you want to, because they were talking about abuse of spiritual abuse, right? Like, what about the women that do this and the people that, that entice this, right? What is the abuse in that case?
Oh, the men have no control. They should know better.
So this guy...
They have to reject those
Salman was basically jumping on him for that, and now...
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is what the whole thing was.
One of the more interesting things about this dilemma is that Salman was a person who actually engages with them. He was friendly with people like Ingrid and so on. And he said something very pretty much agreed upon. And Ingrid found a way to backstab him because there were many posts that were shared online that showed Sheikh Salman having liked her posts in the past and
just trying to be the relevant imam, just being really inclusive in that circle. And one opportunity they get to throw him under the bus, Ingrid has to prove how I'm more woke than you are. And then boom, it just comes down like a ton of bricks. There's no allyship. The only allyship is with who's more woke. Yeah. Who can score points? Look how woke I am. I'm for the women. I'm for the gays. I'm for the freaks. I'm for everybody. All right? That's just how it is.
So for those who are international who don't understand Ingrid Mattson's significance, she's probably the most influential female Muslim in the United States or maybe North America in terms
on
of
an organizational level.
On an organization,
like the pseudo prince.
She was the president of Islam or vice.
No. Hold on. Yeah, she was back in 2000s. But let me ask you before I make my comment though: does she have any formal Islamic training or just purely Western academic?
I don't know. We should look up her.
I mean, she went to the chat. I know Hartford College, that seminary, where the chaplains go.
Yeah, but did she go to
I'm pretty sure she had something. I'm pretty sure there's no way that she's strictly. I don't think she's.
Look, I'm gonna be honest here. If it's from a academic, so a Western academic, it's not anything to me. No, I'm serious. That's how I feel about it, bro. But anyways,
before I used to try to be a little bit more balanced, you shouldn't completely discredit people who have studied in Western academia, and I still don't, but more and more I feel like people who have studied their Islam in Western academia, I can't take them seriously.
So here's the thing: I think if it complements their Islamic institutional study, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If you solely have, and that's your sole exposure to an academic level of Islam, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to, no matter how good a teacher may be, who's an adjunct professor or professor, whatever over there, there's limitations that there's standards of academia that do not comply with Islamic
what they study.
method.
I mean, you should.
And so, but anyways, my story of not really, and this is not me hating Ingrid or anything like that, but my story of not really caring about her was back in the days when I was at ISNA, the 90s or late 90s. I remember she was the ISNA president, and they had rented a huge SUV. They were escorting her from conference to the Rosemont here, and then they had full on security.
I mean, she's probably the VP back then.
Whatever
I
it
think he was
was.
president like 2008.
Whatever it was,
maybe.
but they
Yeah,
were treating her like she was the president of the United States of America.
Look, dude, they had to. They needed a female president.
Listen, I don't care. I'm
So
saying, listen,
that's
I don't
why
know
she
why
was
you have to
there.
justify Islam. I don't care, bro.
I'm not justifying
I'm not
Islam.
asking you to do that. That's
I'm
not
saying
even
I
my
don't even
story.
think she was really the president.
It's not even my story, bro. Listen,
Yeah.
it's not even my story. Just me
Yeah,
seeing
let's
that
hear your story.
was just like, hey, I hate this woman. That's all it was. It's so unnecessary, so unneeded. I'm like, oh, I can't stand people like that. And I just never really, didn't hate her, but I'm like,
You're saying she's taking up space. She's taking up your
yeah,
breathing
taking up
space.
space. I couldn't get
taking
up.
up your oxygen,
You know, the
you
thing
know.
is, like, I'm trying to get into the front of the lobby and hear there's like 3 caravan SUV coming out of this one little,
Yeah.
you know, what are you doing, bro? Like over the top extra. Like no one cares for you, dude.
Okay,
Like, literally.
yeah, it seems like she's PhD from University of Chicago.
And then what else?
Harvard Seminary. I mean, the thing is, they're not with a traditional scholarship. It's not like they have ijazah from Sheikh. I read it's not like she read Sharh Kitab al-Tawheed from Sheikh Uthaymeen or something. It's not going to be on Wikipedia.
I don't even care that.
You know
About,
what
I
I'm
mean, no, I wouldn't even mind that. I
what I
wouldn't
mean?
even mind that. But even like a online thing, like maybe correspondence with a sheikh from Al Azhar, like something maybe under a student of someone who had ijazah from them. Even that I'm cool with because there's some connection to an organization, right?
Right.
Like let's say you were coming out to be a da'i and you were studying under Amir, right? I would say, okay, there's some connections to like.
That'd be a disaster.
I remember when I asked him to teach me a book like 5 years ago.
Yeah, he's lazy.
It went
Yeah,
nowhere.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, the point being is that, but you see what I'm saying? There's a connection.
Yeah.
Like, I can say, oh, he's not how he went to an institution. There's some framework that we
Right.
can agree on, right?
Sure.
With this person, I don't know what kind of woke freak was teaching her about Islam.
One of the best Islamic studies faculties in the United States is University of Chicago. Okay.
I prefer that one Islamic University in Minnesota. That's great, man.
Who's
Sheikh Walid Manisis,
Munisi? Sheikh
Yeah, bro.
Munisi,
the Islamic University of Minnesota.
Phenomenal,
Wait,
bro.
what kind of name is Minisi?
I don't know.
He reminds me of the baseball player, Minnie Minoso. You guys know him?
Nah.
Bro,
He's a
we
legend.
don't watch baseball. Do you watch baseball?
Not so much. No.
Anyways,
But Sheikh Amr, I think most Chicago Muslim PhDs tend to be pretty normative. I would say that's the thing. That's historically what we've seen, right? They're not like out there.
I think a lot of because they live in Chicago,
Yep.
right? If they do live in Chicago, they have to kind of adjust to the Muslims here,
Yep.
right? And a lot of them who get their PhDs, they've already had some type of traditional Islamic learning before they got there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's because the style of study is very, very critical based. It's very Orientalist text based. I'm talking about Islamic studies, in universities in general, right? As it's almost like secular. It's almost a secular Islamic study. When I was younger, I was thinking about that once. I was like, oh, cool, UFC, UIC, they have these Middle Eastern study things. But then you start reading some stuff and they just say Muhammad, your teacher. Imagine your teacher being like an Orientalist, sometimes a Jew teaching you Islam. It's like,
And not only that, they say, oh, like, for example, they'll say stuff so just, like blatant. Like, for them, it's not disrespectful. For us,
Yeah.
oh, Muhammad saw himself as a competition between him and Quraysh. Like, we would never think that. What competition? He is Muhammad al-Mustafa. Like, what are you talking? What competition are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and that kind of language disturbs me.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Totally.
the blatant, for them, they don't consider it disrespect.
for them, it's just academia.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, they don't, some of them even argue whether he existed or not. Right? You know what I mean? Like, how do you learn religion from that? But I wish what we could do is, Chicago Sharif is a very special place. And I wish we can get all the massages and organizations around to make a pact that if anyone is woke and belongs to this woke crowd, we ban them from the masjids. Like, I mean, as like speakers and leaders, right? You just create a list of banned woke individuals and they never, because look, we want to protect the Chicago stronghold, right? It would be great. Imagine the first city to ban woke imams. It'd be wonderful.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
But the problem is that a lot of our own masjid going communities, they're the first one to sell out because these people like Ingrid and stuff, they have clout, right? So
Yeah.
they have
Everyone's after clout,
everyone wants to rub shoulders with.
And she's
people.
white.
Yeah, I think that might happen.
Right, yeah. I mean,
But-
a white liberal who's embracing that is, like, I can speak for this, is every date's the uncle's friend, bro. That's like the thing. Oh, that's the cream of the crop. When you came in, Ingrid Matteson spoke at the foundation. it's like an achievement. Like, I met Ingrid in 1975.
We did it.
Yeah, I mean, something like
The
that.
journey
You know what I mean?
was
Like,
worth it.
it's just like some kind of achievement that you met a white convert who's a woman. You know what I mean? Led an
The journey was
organization, right?
worth it.
Yeah, but But no, I mean, I think Sim's right though. Unfortunately, the only reason why she's able to get in positions like this is because we have treacherous traitors amongst our ranks. No, that's just the reality. No, he's right.
Well, one of the reasons why Sheikh Salman should take this as a learning experience, and we advise him sincerely and with humility, because he's a student of knowledge who's studied with among traditional peers, and we have a lot of respect for him, and we advise him to seize his engagement and activities that he or statements that he makes that are in line with that kind of crowd, because he tries to support them and try to show people their side of view and stuff. And sometimes when you try to find that middle ground, no one's gonna.
They're not going to look at your sincerity in that.
No, they're not, and especially like your bread and butter, your base, your traditional followers. They're not going to come to your aid when.
Yeah, you're right.
In situations like this, they're not going to show like, hey, They're not going to come and rally and say, hey, Ingrid, what you did to Sheikh Salman is wrong.
Yeah.
Because they've seen what your statements in the past that have been kind of in support, not in everything, but in some areas that have been in support of those crowds,
But I think a lot of people are realizing, there's a lot of imams and a lot of scholars that are realizing this whole wokeness. Some of them are choosing to come out and talk about, the disaster of Muslims siding with the left and all that. Some of them came out and talked about it. They tweeted about it and sent messages out on Facebook. But some of them, they talk about it in their own quarters, and they really do feel bullied. They're just afraid of ramifications, man. They're pushback. And
yeah, I mean, so many scholars have now talked to us privately or even in public that many of these things have been incredibly difficult for them to talk about because of their employers being seeing what they talk about, or people doxing them or letting their employers know about certain feelings or attitudes they have towards controversial topics, that can say, oh, you know what, it's probably just better that I stay silent,
And you're so right about that, because what they do is when they can't counter the argument, they want to, as you mentioned earlier, hamstring you. Make sure that the people that they want to financially punish you, because the bottom line is that if you don't work in America, you're in trouble, right? You need money, and this is kind of I'm going to kind of mention a personal detail here, just if you don't mind. No, about you. No, what I'm saying is that like we would tell you, me and Sim would always encourage you to kind of seek employment outside of the masjid, because it's hard. Like when you have someone over you telling you what you can and can't say. And it's super important for Muslims to find avenues to become self-sufficient, because unfortunately this is not going to go away, right? Yeah. People, the left, this is how they thrive. They thrive on cancellation. They thrive on trying to intimidate you. They don't want to convince you that their argument is right, because they believe in speak your truth. I speak my truth. They believe in many truths, right? We don't believe in that.
There's no absolute
and so the idea is that in order for them to persuade you into thinking the way they do, or at least being more silent about your opinion, is by financially threatening you. And that happens by finding where you work, where you go to school, whatever activities you're part of. They want to ostracize you from that community and maybe financially or emotionally punish you. And so the only way, but to be honest, most people who are speaking as against them are not really worried about the emotional part. They can handle that part, right? But everyone's worried about the money. So if you intend to combat these things, try to find a way to be financially independent. So therefore they can't try to approach your employer, right? They can't, or at least I would advise you guys to keep your employment information, all that stuff, away from your social media. Because what they try to do is, unfortunately, what they're doing is, the reason why Ingrid tagged the Cambridge University is because now it becomes an issue that, Salman is actually now speaking on behalf of Cambridge. So Cambridge is now forced to have to do something about it if he says something.
And that's why he deleted it. It wasn't even waiting for them to react. As soon as he was tagged, I remember, because I think in our WhatsApp group, someone was talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, what'd he say? And we followed. Actually, I just messaged him on Twitter just a couple weeks ago. He had DM'd me about some stuff, and so I was like, "Oh, his account, like what's going on?" And you realize he just deleted his account immediately.
Oh, the whole account.
Yeah, that way because
Wow.
now because the thing is, she tagged him, but when they look through it, they're not going to find his tweets.
I'm glad he did that.
Yeah.
And I
You
think,
got to do it for damage control. You got to like mitigate. At the end of the day, it's for the page. If
That's
it's
true.
like that, I understand what Sim's saying too. The thing of it is, a lot of what he is, 'cause I relate to him in the sense that you want to be able to try to work with people because it's your disposition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be like,
Yeah.
not like Mort has a certain disposition. Mort can just tell you to just go screw off and go pound sand. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? I think Sim and I are similar. I remember Sim when we went to Iman and we invited we talked to Linda Sarsour.
Yeah.
In 2016, and we this is before but we were like cordial. We're cordial with people, right? And I think that's what you're like. All right, well maybe they have a point.
Well, she wasn't even off the rails back then.
Correct, yeah.
She didn't do all.
it was
the
just
crazy
Palestine.
Doesn't
thing.
matter, bro. The anti-woke people, the opposite of the spectrum, is going to cancel you guys now, bro.
stuff. The what?
The Akbros are going to cancel you now.
No.
How dare they interview?
Let me clarify to the Pros. This was way
I love you
before.
guys.
This is when old Linda was she was down with the cause. She was pro Palestine. She was just
Oh, the Palestine
pro
cause.
Palestine, but there's no the other stuff wasn't popping up yet. There was
Yeah.
no Trump. It was Obama was still the president.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
she was working on the election though.
It wasn't the abortion
This is-
thing or
Yeah,
the women's thing
right.
or
Women's-
it wasn't the Me
pre-Women's March,
Too.
all that stuff,
It was
right.
prior to Me Too.
Pre Linda Lintlicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-Linda Cockroach, it was pretty much done.
Bootlickers.
Yeah, but I think the idea is that Sheikh Salman seems to be a person who wants to be able to work, because he's like in reality is you got to meet people in real life and just talk to them.
Yeah, I understand.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where he's coming from. So I can sympathize
You're
with
talking
that.
about building bridges.
Well, at least hey, let's agree to disagree. I
Right.
see your point. There's some things here,
Yeah.
Right.
definitely, because there are a lot of extreme angles being taken, black and white. For example, like there was a comment that just popped up on our chat, like Ertugrul season 1 and DH is Ertugrul. I'm like, come on, bro, like for real. It's like and Gundogo, feminists and LGBT naysayers are Gundogo. And then Mongols are LGBTQ, I guess.
That's a great analogy, though.
It's kind of funny, but
I think what they're trying to say, though, to be fair, right? Maybe I don't agree with the analogy, but here's the thing. Like him or hate him, but when Daniel was speaking about this, let's ignore the tone for a second and what people say about his disrespect and about ignore that. The actual content, he's been warning about this, that there's no loyalty among the woke crowd. You can cater to them all you want to. At the end of the day, they won't be. There's no middle ground of being woke.
Yeah.
Right? And either if you're not on board, they will crucify you. Like they will destroy you overnight, and they don't mind it. They will sleep just happy, and so you might as well just come off from the very get go and say, "I'm not with you." just be honest about it. Say, "I'm not with you. I have nothing to do with you guys. We're not working together." And just be on your own, which is under Islam. Right? Be what you feel is the Islamic position. And I think a lot of that gets, for Daniel's audience, a lot of that gets lost because of maybe the tone or the language or the mockery. Maybe they don't like that. Me, I don't have a problem with it, but some people don't.
Well,
right?
but here's the thing, though. Like, I think when even that's disingenuous from his point of view, because it's one because he got cut off. He was part of the establishment, right? So when he got cut off, now he's got nothing. It would mean more to me if he did it as part of the establishment.
So my thing is that again,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
he was part of the establishment.
yes.
Right?
So what you're saying is that yeah, but I mean, when you say establishment, you mean academic or you mean like
the mainstream community, like the Yaqins, the Iknas, the Isnas, right?
I mean, again, like that's one narrative that he was part of it and then he didn't get his way, so now he's bitter, right? But according to his side, he's saying that listen, I've been saying it while I was there, and this is what caused the problems in the first place. But I was trying, I think what he was arguing was that, I could be wrong here if I remember reading all this correctly, is that he was trying to be more tactful about it while he was there because he was still employed by them.
Because he's part of the establishment. That's the whole point. Because when you're completely devoid, like we have friends, for example, they're overseas, right? They're not part of the community. They can stay wherever the hell they want because they don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, but I think I can see what you're saying, but I think there's a point here that when you're part of it, you see some goodness, right? You're trying to maybe make it work,
right.
But it comes to a point where you become betrayed and backstabbed so many times. You're like, I see it for what it is now. And that's just there's no way to reform. I mean, in his mind, I'm not saying
let
that.
let me explain what exactly is happening. So, during those days, the lines weren't drawn yet. Is what Mort should be saying, at least, or just trying to say. Now, many of us who are in the religious spaces understand where each organization is, what kind of positions each individual has taken, who's
Great
involved
observation.
in the Dawa scene, and everyone kind of makes a determination. Okay, well, you know what? He doesn't talk about politics. He's just like, for example, Mufti Menk. He just gives reminders, for example. So he's cool. Okay, we'll just leave him alone. And then there's people who will kind of dabble in it a little bit, and then they feel the heat, and then they just pull back and they try to stay neutral, you know? So
Spot on. Everything is drawn in the sand now.
Yeah.
You know exactly where every organization stands, what their values are, who they're supporting, who's funding them, where they're directing their funds to. All of that is clear as day now. And I think, to be honest, a lot of that has to do, people hate to say this, but a lot of it has to do with people like Daniel speaking about this. People who are in the organizations and they realize, I'm not saying that these organizations necessarily have a nefarious intention, right? But it is what it is. They can justify it, and they have their own justifications internally for why they're doing certain things, which is fine if they stand in front of Allah and that's good for them. I'm not a shaykh or an alim, but I'm saying that we know now because of people like Daniel, who have been working with people who generally associate with different parties. We know, and I'll be honest too. This is not only just for the left. There are people on the right too, like Ismail Royer. People know exactly where he stands, right, with the groups that he's working with, and you can agree or you can disagree with it. But what's to Sim's point, everything is clear as day now.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's why it's so much more important. Early on, I think Daniel had that clarity because he was in it, and people didn't have that clarity yet, and so it was easy to say he's off the rails. Right, but now it's almost coming to a full circle where, like, man, maybe some of the stuff he's saying was right.
He was onto something for something.
Yeah, he was onto something. Maybe I don't agree with his approach or the way that maybe some people say that he's
Opportunistic.
what is that word? No, not confrontational.
No, opportunistic.
He's nitpicking, right? He's just overboarding, whatever it may be, and they can have an opinion. But again, they said the same thing about that 5 years ago too. He was nitpicking, right? And so at one point, did that nitpicking actually become something that's a real problem? And I think that's where we are at the crossroad. I think nonetheless, people should still be independent. They should still do their own, research and make sure that they're gathering the facts. Like don't just trust any one person. But the point is that these are real conversations that need to happen. And good imams, people who generally want to be connected to the community, who have good intentions, they should be aware of this. Like Sim was mentioning earlier, we hope that Salman wises up from this and sees it as a lesson as to whom he should ally with and what allyship actually means. How loyal are they? How far does it go? What do you have to compromise to be there? I think those are important questions now that people should be asking.
all right, we have some guests who are waiting in the waiting room. We're going to go ahead and shift topics to a situation that happened at a mosque recently where a blind person, is it seeing impaired or blind now? I don't. What's
blind is okay.
Blind.
A blind person was attempting to bring a guide dog into a mosque. Please welcome the founders of Islam by Touch, Nader Tabata, and his wife. I'll let her introduce herself. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear us?
Alaikum
Yes,
assalam
loud
wa
and clear.
rahmatullah. Yes, we can hear you. MashaAllah, munawwareen. We see you.
What's going on, team?
We see you looking good, brother. I love the setup, mashallah. Looking really good.
I'm the unofficial member of the Mad Mamluks. And my lovely wife, please introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Yadira. And yeah, I'm here to kind of get some information out there, I guess.
Yeah, so help us understand a little bit about what happened and what the response was and where we are at now.
So let me give you a little bit of background because I think it helps to have a little bit of context of where I'm coming from and why it ended up how it ended up. I am a convert to Islam. I embraced Islam almost 18 years ago. I was born with glaucoma, congenital glaucoma, and so I've been blind since birth. I think I decided that at a very young age, I wanted to be a guide dog user. That was just what I knew was going to work for me. And quite frankly, I remember the day it happened. I was like 5 years old. I kid you not. I knew this is what I wanted, and this is what I was going to work towards achieving. So, a long story short, I did ended up acquiring my first guide dog back in 2005. So I embraced Islam in October of 2004, and in June I came home as a graduate from the Seeing Eye in New Jersey, and that is the most, basically the elite school. It is the founder of all the guide dog schools. It's the first one, and it is the hardest one to get into. So I worked hard to get into that school. So being a new Muslim and coming from a Catholic background, I figured that community was something I would be able to easily access. I had never had any issues prior in the Catholic community. So I figured it wouldn't be a big deal, except that one that was proven very, very, very wrong very quickly. I was not accepted into the community. If I tried to come with a dog, it was always, no, sister, you can just leave your dog outside, or you can, those, you know, they would decide what I could do. And there's a lot of issues that come with those mentalities, and we'll get that into a little bit. So fast forward to now, I do homeschool. I have 4 kids, and I have been homeschooling since the beginning, since day one, basically. And so we have integrated our, you know, part of being a homeschooling family, socialization for our children is our responsibility. And so we do a lot of park days and field trips and just social outings to make sure that the kids have access to social groups and learn how to, not necessarily that they're making lifelong friends from these groups, but just learn the skills of socialization so that they can use those later on in life. However, I've only done that through secular groups, because in the Muslim spaces, that's just not something that I'm able to do, since we're not welcomed. I'm not welcomed with my guide dog. So I decided that at the the Valley Ranch Islamic Center here in Texas, I found out that they were having a youth launch night for their youth program this upcoming season. And so years of not attending masajid, or basically only dealing with the community from a work capacity through Islam by touch, I decided, you know what, I want to, even if it's not for me, I want to get the kids into the community. I want them to know other Muslims like themselves besides their father's side of the family, and all of that. So I signed up for their text messaging services. You know, one of those, it's like the automated thing, and they just kind of let you know what's going on. I signed up for that, and then I was like, look, they're having this youth night. They're going to have all these different programs you could sign up for. They're going to have a really, just a family-oriented night with snacks and drinks and activities and all stuff. So I want to take the kids. My husband says, maybe we should call and see what's going on. And I'm like, I mean, it says for the whole community. I don't see why this would be an issue. But I was pretty naive, I think, at that point. Because I was really focused on the kids and wanting them to have a good time. So my husband, I was pretty busy that day. And my husband, I had asked him to make a call for me to the Valley Ranch Islamic Center and to inquire about this, about me coming along with Guide Dog. So there was a couple voicemails right now.
Well, they answered the first time.
Okay. So the first time they answered, and you know, the lady's response, I was there when I kind of walked in on that, when she was like, oh, I don't know about that. We'll have to talk to the board. And it was just such a punch to the gut, honestly, because it's like, here we go again. I have to talk to the board. I have to talk to the board. I have to get permission to actually come to a mosque. And quite frankly, what ran through my head is, I'm so sick and tired of this. And it's not just me who has to deal with these experiences. This is a whole community, people that I'm in contact with, particularly through a work capacity, and who have shared very similar experiences. So they either have to give up their community or give up their eyes, which in reference to that, I mean the dog. And so you're put in a position where choices are being made for you and how to manage your disability, and that's extremely unfair. But so she neither asks for us to be contacted through email or phone call or whatever. Just then there's like 2 other voicemails because we hadn't been hearing anything, and we finally get an email the next day with outright denial, just saying, no, you can't come with a dog. If it was in a gym or outdoors, we could make a case for it, but otherwise, no. So it was just a hard reality to have to deal with. And I had also dealt with that same day, after running some errands, with 2 Uber drivers denying me access to the service because of my guide dog, which is against the Americans with Disabilities Act, covered by federal law. So I had to place complaints with all of that. And then to deal with the masjid, it was just a whole lot. And so by the time the Instagram video came out, when I put it out, and that was just a very raw, vulnerable moment of just feeling just crushed and absolutely just defeated and exhausted of how much am I going to have to keep fighting just to have the same spaces that other Muslims have access to, just to have the same respect that other Muslims get, based on the disability that I have no control over, but that Allah has allowed me to use certain tools so that I can manage my own disability. And that's where that video was. On Instagram, it was very emotional, it was very raw, explaining my situation and feeling like, I go to secular events and I get completely accepted, no questions. They're just like, oh my God, we're so glad to have you here. No discrimination because I'm hijabi, nothing of the sort. They're curious about my blindness, about the dog, and they ask questions, and I'm more than willing to answer them and educate, but I don't get the same treatment or even the thought of a dialogue with particularly the leaders of the Muslim community, because the community, especially like online, right? They're reaching out, they're asking questions, they're curious to know. But when the leaders are the ones saying absolutely not and shutting that door, there's not many avenues you can take except putting on that pressure and just kind of speaking up and saying enough is enough.
So, sister, if I can ask you, Assalamu alaikum, if I can ask you a quick question, if you don't mind. So, when you go to Muslim events, are you able to, or do you get any type of different treatment if it's kind of like an outdoor picnic? Have you ever been to something like that where you're able to take your guide dog, but it's outdoors? And if you did do that, did people ever give you an issue with that or no?
There are very few instances where I've taken my dog with me, let me rephrase that. There are very few instances where I have gone. My dog is my eyes. So she comes with me where I go.
Okay.
There are very few instances where I will not take her. So something like if I'm, getting surgery or giving birth or something like that, where, by the way, as long as people are allowed in the rooms, the dog is allowed as well. So like in the surgery room, since no one else is allowed but the patient and the doctors, the dog wouldn't be allowed in the surgery room. In the recovery rooms or any other part, the dog is allowed.
Okay, so with the Valley Ranch Masjid, was it? Sorry.
At the masjid, so I've been to these events, and while because they're outdoor, I don't go asking for permission. I kind of just show up.
Yeah.
But the treatment that I get from the community is people running from me, people picking up their kids and taking them away, people looking at me in all kinds of manners, enough that my own children are like, Mama, why are they looking at you like that? Why are they treating you that way? Why don't they want to be near you? And those are hard questions to have to answer when you don't have an answer for your children.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is like when you, if you did go to the Valley Ranch Mosque, did they say that you can take it anywhere in the establishment, just not the masjid, or did they say nowhere inside of the establishment?
All I got was outdoors or the gym, but anywhere like in the
facility. Nowhere in the facility. That's their term, their words exactly.
Because look, we can get into that. I understand the masjid part, and I kind of see where they're coming from, if anything. But if it's not considered the masjid, and especially if the dog is your eyes, that should actually never be a problem, right? And the other thing is just to maybe, inshallah, give you some tranquility. Look, it's super unfortunate that you're having to go through this, especially feeling like a Muslim who feels very welcome in a church, and then when they become Muslim. When did you become Muslim, by the way, sister? How old were you approximately?
It was 2004, so I was 20.
Okay, subhanAllah. And then having to come to a masjid or be with the Muslims and then not being welcome, obviously that adds a lot more tension to even like your relationship with Allah. Of course it can, right? So one thing that, just to let you know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and this is just my 2 cents on this, just to help you continue on this, because for the people in the future, you are actually going to change the future of Muslims and their guide dogs and all of that. How so? Before any change occurs, there has to be somebody that, and it's unfortunate, but this is how we are as human beings and as just living in communities, there's somebody who has to go through a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that that's cool that is happening to you. But what I am saying is, on the other side is, Allah has definitely chosen you to make this change for Muslims in America. right? And this is a beautiful thing. It is a blessing in disguise. It's just very unfortunate that you're having to go through this. I mean, I see it as trauma. I saw the videos
It
that
is.
Nader
It's
that
very
you
traumatic
posted.
and exhausting.
Of course. And the reason I mentioned light at the end of the tunnel is the Muslim community generally, if you look at 1.5, whatever, 7 billion people, the general understanding of guide dogs and just disabilities, unfortunately, is very, very low.
Yeah,
Right?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Of course, it's actually like very, very sad. It's extremely sad. But the part with the guide dogs is it's something that's so new that, and the lack of education of Muslims, unfortunately, is their first thing that comes to mind as far as dogs is concerned. Like with me, look, I grew up in the Desi household. I'm originally Indian, right? My parents scared the heck out of us with dogs, bro. Like, I am still scared. Mort can tell you how scared I am. So scared. And like when I was like younger, I used to go to high school and I used to walk to the bus. I got chased by dogs a few times, and I'm like, oh my god, dogs. Like that's how I am. And then you couple that with parents just teaching you the dua. If a dog comes to you, what you're supposed to say. If a dog comes to you, afraid of it's going to attack you. So that's my mindset from the age of like 4 or 5, 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? And then you
Right.
couple that with a majority of Muslims understanding that the saliva of the dog is najis. It is a recipe for disaster if there's not proper education given to them. And that's where we are right now. Look, I mean, I don't like really using the word backwards, but look how behind the Muslim,
Right.
civilization in America. Let's just look at America for right now. Is, but the light at the end of the tunnel is, and I don't mean this in any. Please, sister, don't take this in any condescending way. This is not. But after I saw those videos that Nether shared, mashallah, your beloved, amazing, handsome husband, every time it's more and more handsome, mashallah.
He's cool.
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm alright.
But those videos, that the first thing that came to my mind is, wallahi, I'm not making this up. I was like, mashallah, this sister is going to change, this whole idea for Muslims in the future. And it's just one of those things that, it's hard for me to say this, and I'm saying this in like the most compassionate way. It's one of those things that she's just going to have to get through because it's never really happened before, or no one really heard about it before. Do you understand what I'm saying? Before
do,
every change occurs, there has to
and
be somebody that makes that change, right?
I think if I'm going to be honest, subhanAllah, I've literally lived my whole life like that.
SubhanAllah.
When I was born in the, mid 80s. So I was I was in the pilot program for mainstreaming blind children into the public school system. Prior to that year, when I attended school, really that wasn't a thing. Children went to schools for the blind, which are not really up to par in education. So the goal was to mainstream blind students into the classrooms, into the public classrooms, and they were going to test it out. And I was one of the kids being tested out. So I've really kind of been dealing with this since preschool, honestly. And I remember one time being asked by somebody, you typically ask kids, oh my God, do you like school? And I straight looked at them and said, no, I don't. I don't. Because I remember being mistreated at the hands of the teachers, at the hands of the students. It was a lot to put on a child who was only 4 years old and then expected to keep marching forward to see how this would work. And subhanAllah, it did, obviously, because now that's the norm. Blind children generally don't go to other schools, but wherever, particularly public schools, because private schools, doesn't matter what religion or whatever, they're not quite up to par. That's a whole different thing. But public schools, you see blind students in the classes. There's state agencies, governmental agencies, like in New Jersey, it's the Commission for the Blind, and they supply the vocational instructors and to teach Braille, to teach mobility and instruction, orientation, I'm sorry, and to teach certain skills that you need in order to succeed in the academic and social world and whatnot during these school years. And this is all paid for by the government. Prior to that year that I went to school, this just wasn't a thing. And I was in that test pilot to test that out. And I've been I've just been kind of dealing with that my whole life. So, I'm ready. I'm ready for the fight. I got
Shaykh
it.
Amr, I have a question for you. So, couldn't a good workaround be that, like, so if the technicality, because I know Nadira, I heard you both. I watched most of your second video and your first full part of your first video. And I know Nader had shared with us, he had spoken with Sheikh Yasser Burjas, and Sheikh Yasser kind of gave the kind of the black and white fatwa that
the general script,
the general script, right?
Right.
So, but couldn't there be a workaround where we define when we build our masajid, we define it in a way where we can, because for example, ladies can't come to the masjid on their menses, right? But I've heard of some masajid essentially declaring the women's prayer area as not actually part of the masjid to alleviate that. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Could the masjid boundaries, even after construction, I don't know if there's an option where to make it accessible to redefine what the actual that masjid portion is, and therefore you can be in the building with the dog, and if you go to ladies, because you're not going to be in the men's section anyway, you go to ladies section that's not part of the masjid, and then you're gravy, right?
Yeah.
Is there
But it doesn't even require a new construction.
But here's the thing with this, okay?
Right.
It's the assumption that, I can go to the ladies section. And like I had said on both videos, this is more than just for myself. There are also, men who are guide dog users. So that would affect them. As a woman, I do not have to go to the masjid. You're right. That's not something that's obligated on me. But as a man, it is. So that has to be taken into consideration.
Of course it does. You're right.
And then furthermore, whatever solutions are going to be, suggested, or whatever agreements we come to, not compromises, but agreements, they all have to start with a dialogue and with the absolute willingness to listen to the person who is disabled. And that's kind of the roadblock where I'm at right now, and where the disabled community, particularly the guide dog using community, us guide dog handlers, no one wants to listen to our voices. And then when we tell you what we need, it's, well, no, this is not. This is what it is instead, and this is what you need to fix it. Rather than saying, okay, I hear you, I hear that this is the problem you're facing, and you would know because you're at the receiving end of this problem. So what can we do to work together to make it better? How can we help? And then working simultaneously as a team towards the same goal. Right now, that's not even happening.
Yeah, that
right
has to
now,
be happening. That has to be happening.
Yeah, right now it's, you spoke. That's not really my interest because I know better than you what you need for your disability. And that's kind of the issue. We have to get past that mentality before we can even start saying, okay, this is solution A, B, and C. I have to get you to listen to me, to actually listen to me and to the whole community, and actually value our input. Because honestly, even between my husband and I, my needs are not the same as his. This is about equity, not equality. Like he can enlarge the screen. He can see. Like he read, okay, the host will let you in. I see nothing in front of me. His needs are large print, mine are braille.
You wanted to take her eyes out to show you?
They are prosthetic. I'm not doing that.
I'm playing.
But they are prosthetic.
No, the thing, but I think part of the problem though is that these people, they probably might be just kind of brushing it under the rug because they don't have a solution. And I think that's why it's easier for them to just not talk about it.
I don't think they're brushing it. I think they don't know how to deal with it.
But that's why they're brushing it.
They don't know how to deal with it, and it's not that they. But here's the thing: they're not understanding that they don't need to come up with the solution. We are telling you what we need, and we need to work together to fit the pieces in the puzzle.
And that being they're
And we
Mattson
can
certified
solve it
too,
for
right? Are they supposed to be Mattson certified?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does Mohsen say about this?
For those who don't know, Mosque is a organization that deals with anyone who has disabilities or special needs and stuff like that. So
to make sure that the building is up to code and stuff.
right.
Yeah.
So this is the situation with Mattson, right?
So they've been commenting on the video, okay? Because he's kind of stuck there for
I'm trying to keep listen, bro.
So listen,
you know me,
they
man.
were
I'm trying to keep it PG. You know what I'm saying?
What happened was, well, you know why I've also told him too. I'm like, listen, I need this to be laser focused, and if you start kind of bringing in other issues and topics, it deflects. And what happens within the community is that it's very easy to grab onto the deflection because talking about disability and the disabled community makes the able-bodied community as a whole uncomfortable. Muslim or not, it does. And so it's very easy to jump on.
Why is that though? I mean, like, it's
a very good question. The reason is because, and I can tell you from my own experience and from other people who have to live with the disabilities, we've been straight up to our faces. Oh, I don't know what I would do if I was blind, or if I had this. I would literally just be depressed, stay in bed, and just wither away.
I don't know how you can do it.
I don't know how you can do it.
I don't know how you do it. We
The
hear that all the time.
idea, the idea that we exist is very discomforting, and it's kind of like, oh, that couldn't happen to me, and I don't want to think about that. I'd rather
I
put
was
it
just thinking about
back
this
burner.
too. This is crazy because maybe I don't, and I'm thinking about it because alhamdulillah, I don't have a anything that is a known disability. But the thing is, like, I don't think that way. But then I'm thinking back on my own life, and I have a brother who's disabled, like meaning he has a hearing loss issue. I mean, with his hearing aids, he hears about 70%. But I think maybe that's why I'm more empathetic. But I never realized that people had an issue with people being like handicapped, like or having some issue, right? But let me. I'm thinking about this situation, and generally me, I try to be like a problem solver. So I'm thinking about this while you were talking. Now I know that I don't know how this works. I'm not an expert in using seeing dogs, but for a compromise or an agreement. Is it possible, like, for example, how like some churches have ushers where like, you can have someone dedicated to like, hey, anytime like, we have a masjid that has someone, obviously we pay like people for other things.
Yeah.
We have people that are designed and they're ready available for people who are vision impaired that can be assisted in actually taking them to the inside the masjid once they enter the ground.
All right, I'll cut you out right there.
So-
She's addressed this already, so go. But you did already.
yeah,
Go ahead. You did. You know who this is. Go ahead.
I did it in the chat.
Look at my, he ain't paying attention.
So good job. So the issue with that is that the able-bodied community has set the precedent for what is allowed and has stripped the disabled person of their autonomy.
Yeah.
They have made the choice, well, this is what's available to you, rather than, hey, we have this service available, but you have your choices of cane, guide dog use, or sighted guide, because those are the tools that you can use. The issue with just saying, hey, we have the service and you have to use this is you're making a decision for someone else, as if they were incapable to make a decision for themselves. And you're not allowing them to have the same autonomy and freedom and dignity that their able-bodied counterpart has, because you wouldn't really impose that on anyone else. But when it comes to disability, it's even outside of the Muslim sphere, it's kind of, well, I'm allowed to do so because you're disabled and you obviously can't. I have been grabbed trying to cross the street with my guide dog because they think I don't know what I'm doing. And yes, this person did almost get punched in the face.
She Puerto Rican, bro. She quick to stab somebody. You know what I'm saying?
They grabbed me. I don't know who they are. I'm a woman, and I was, this is my college days. I'm by myself. I'm with my dog. You grab me. My instinct is I'm a fight.
Right.
So, I pulled back that fist and I almost punched them in the face. And they were like, I'm just trying to help. I said, that's not how you help. You don't go grabbing people. Would you like to just be grabbed? You don't have the right to do that. Keep your hands off me.
I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand. I mean, if I'm looking at
So
something.
I think it would, I appreciate where you're coming from, but I think it would help, again, is learning about how guide dogs really work, learning about what exactly it is they do, and then springboarding from there.
So let me tell you why I thought, because I'm trying to understand the message, and like I'm not gonna get into the fiqh thing, but let's say that these people are adamant about like, hey, a dog in a musalla in a prayer area is not, it's just najasa, we can't have it, right? Like this is a matter of religion for them, right?
More.
So
I think it goes more beyond that. I think even if you have an opinion or a scholar that declares that the saliva is not najis and allows the dog to come into the musalla and sit down, I know the mosques that I've been to, that would not fly. That is an immigrant community
agree,
that's coming.
What I'm speaking about.
They're trying to establish some kind of they want to establish the peace within the society, within their not society.
How
Yeah,
about
but I'm not speaking of people will take a while to change. That's for sure. Culturally, like dogs are not something that's used to, right? But I'm trying to get to a position where, because she's mentioning like people are focusing just on hers, right? I'm thinking about a brother who's vision impaired who has a dog. Like he proposed ideas of a separate area of musallas for the women, and it's different. It's not part of the masjid. But like she said, there's the guys who are visually impaired and they want to come to the masjid to be part of the jama'ah, right? And the bottom line is majority of the fiqh opinions is that a dog in a masjid is not tahara, it's not pure, right? I mean, generally speaking, I know there's exceptions. So how do you find a compromise? Because these people are going to say, listen, this is a matter of religion for us, right? We follow the opinion that dogs make an area najasa. The same way we wouldn't hang pictures on the wall or anything like this. It's the same idea that we have. So how do you find a compromise in that situation? Like, I understand that you want to have the autonomy to be able to take choices and choose your option, but sometimes when it comes to religion, there's not an option to be made, right? I mean, like, it's kind of like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not trying to take away from what's happening, but I can understand why some masajids who are maybe a different fiqh opinion would say, hey, we just can't have a dog here. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and real quick, Nader, real quick. I from what I gathered from your conversation with Sheikh Yasser was that Sheikh Yasser also took the position that there are many situations where people can't attend a masjid, and this is just one of them, and it is what it is. Is that's what I got from his take, right? He was like, yeah, this is just another scenario where, yeah, you can't come because of XYZ.
Well, then if that's the case, what I think the community the disabled community and guide dog handling community, I need transparency and say, hey, yeah, you're welcome with conditions. Don't say you're all welcome.
Okay.
Be very transparent and be straight up and say
and
you're
then-
welcome, but with conditions. Be honest about that. But the problem is that doesn't look good on a community that's trying to that's proselytizing. Right?
I got you.
When you're proselytizing religion, you can't say you're welcome with conditions. You can't do that.
yeah.
And so you come to a country in the West where you are proselytizing and everybody wants those nice numbers of the converts coming in. And I am one of those numbers. And, but then there's these conditions. And once you're in, you're not made aware of these conditions until you've already sort of signed the contract, so to speak.
Right. So I think
And
that
then-
transparency comes back to that just even having a conversation about this in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, you have to have a conversation
Yeah.
regardless. Look, if there's a community of believers that feel ostracized in a masjid, that is priority number
Yeah,
one. Because the masjid, bro, it's not about how many musallis
Oh,
come.
I agree. I
It has-
agree.
yeah, no, I'm not talking. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about generally. Like that dialogue has to happen. That's
Sure,
why
I
I'm
agree.
glad you guys came on the show.
Yeah.
Is because I think this is a good platform to raise this awareness. Because a lot of people, man, unfortunately, the thought probably never crossed their mind of somebody who has to have a guide dog who has to come to the masjid, right? And this is where I think change begins. That's why I think you guys are, inshallah, going to be champions of this.
Yeah.
And I really believe
Well,
that.
I just want to add really quickly because I'm thinking about why can't you just have someone guide you? Because in the conversation with the sheikh, he also mentioned that to my husband.
Yes.
Well, what that does, quite frankly, though, is compounds the issue. So anywhere between 64 to I think 93%. I know it's a big gap, but let's go with the smallest end here. So let's say it's about 64%. So we're looking at about 2/3 of the blind community is unemployed. Unemployed, cannot provide for themselves. And you're already feeling the psychological effects and stresses of that, and already feeling like I don't have worth. Okay, I don't have the value. And then you go to a community that's supposed to uphold you, and they tell you, well, then you have to accept whatever choice I'm making for you, and that means that you get sighted guide, and that's the end of that. It compounds the issue of a lot of, and this is because I know this even outside of Islam by Touch, from my personal experiences, also because of different work experiences. A lot of the blind community suffers with depression, suffers with anxiety, suffers with low self-esteem, because in and out of the Muslim sphere, we're dealing with a lot. We're dealing with a lot of pushback, a lot of, everything is questioned. Everything from can you dress yourself to can you have what makes you think you can have a child.
Right.
Everything is questioned. And so when you go to a community and then they tell you, well, you got to do this on our terms, it compounds the issue.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean by this.
Especially whenever we have, and I hear this like Sheikh Ahmed said, and I don't know if it was Mort that said it too, but whenever you said, they give you the general answer, right? Oh, dogs are najis, and a dog in the house, the angels don't come in that house, but we never hear the caveats of that. Number one,
Right.
right? We never hear the caveats of a guard dog or a hunting dog, and that most of the fuqaha include guide dogs in that sphere, right? We know that as well. And then we never talk about the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, that dogs would come in and out of the masjid, right? And what masjid are we talking about? Are we talking about Valley Ranch? Are we talking about Naperville or Bolingbrook? What are we talking about? We're talking about Masjid Nabawi.
Yeah.
And you hear the excuse, oh, well, there were no doors there. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know doors, stopped, didn't stop things from happening in the Masjid of the Prophet.
So, no.
And we have many examples of things happening with or without doors. like the Bedouin who came and urinated in the masjid. What happened? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so yes, I agree with your point more in regards to like, oh, like a lot of people feel this way. It's like, yeah, but they feel this way because this is what they've been fed with no other.
Right. Right. There's a lack of education.
Yeah.
This is all they've been told, all they've been, and as so long as the leaders keep pushing this, the community is going to keep following it. And if it, the change has to, and the thing is, and again, obviously this is my field, right? And my own personal experience. So under the Americans with Disabilities Act, they're not covered. Religious exemption is made, okay? Because of the First Amendment. The problem, that's fine, because federally I have the right. The law protects me and my dog wherever I go to public spaces. But there are religious exemptions. So the problem is that when you don't have a law making you do something, if you break the law, I'll get in trouble, so I have to do it. But when there is nothing making you do it and you choose to say, I doesn't matter, I'm going to uphold the status quo and I really don't care how this is affecting the whole community, it is a reflection on the character of the leadership as a whole. When nothing is, sort of almost making sure or coercing you to do something like a law, and you choose to just ignore it and not even want to start a dialogue, it really does reflect on the character of the leadership as a whole and where where they stand on the issue.
Yeah.
And one more thing before you guys go in. And what happens is because of all of this stigma, right, on dogs in general, what happens is we have the vast majority of Muslims who do Uber and Lyft and things like that constantly leaving guide dog handlers and people who use service animals because like, no, I can't have that dog in here. Why? Because the angels are going to come in the car? You go pick up drunks at the club at 2 a.m, but you won't pick up a blind girl with her guide dog.
And
you
and
understand
that's
what
the
I'm
thing.
saying?
And like it or not, now you're driving an Uber, so now you're breaking federal law, and I do have the right to report you. And yes, I do. I do not care that you're a Muslim.
Right.
I do not. I report it every single time.
Because you didn't care I was a Muslim.
Right.
Yeah. So I know for sure the idea of having a guide or a human being appointed from the mosque to help someone, while it sounds logical and it sounds like it makes sense, practically it won't, because someone what happens if that person is not there at the mosque? Who's going to handle that? How many?
Okay, but real quick before
there's
you
so many.
continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I know. But listen to the word you just used. Who's going to handle that? The wordage matters because it's not a situation. I'm not a situation to be handled. I'm not an object to be handled. And this is why that mindset doesn't work.
Yeah, when he said handle, I think he means like who's gonna.
I know what he means, but I need you to see it sort of from that perspective. When you think of it, when this is what happens, why it doesn't matter whether someone's there or not to fill the space of the job. I'm not a job to be done. Neither is anyone else in the community.
Yeah. What if you were to see it as, and I completely understand what you're saying. What if you were to see it as somebody who a masjid should be providing a service for helping those in need? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I will give two backdrops, right? The first is, Nader, I remember your voice note about, asking a sheikh, and the sheikh said, let me talk to the board first. And it seemed a little unsettling because it was like, why do you have to ask the board? Why can't you just tell me about it, right? Mm-hmm. So the dilemma, unfortunately, there's another layer here now. Mm-hmm. The way masjids are set up in the United States are set up as corporations, unfortunately, right? They have to be. And when they're set up as corporations, the imam actually, and I'm not making excuses for however the answer was given, because I've worked with a masjid before. It's what the board actually is to the imam is like, okay, I got to ask my boss first type thing. That's the setup that they're living in, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so and this is just to maybe just in hopes of, putting some tranquility in your heart, inshallah, with the permission, bi'idhnillah, is that a lot of times what the imam wants, he's not able to do, or anybody in the masjid, until the board gives it that sign-off type thing, right?
You know what's the irony in that, though?
Yeah.
They run like a corporation, but they will take refuge in that exemption from the ADA. You want to run like a corporation, but you want the religious privileges.
No,
Which one is it?
No, I see what you're saying.
And then they will, and the thing is this is what I said. I don't know if I said this in this group or in a different group. I was saying it's like they'll allow a louder group of people, you know, a certain alphabet mafia, you know, to come and interact with them
Yeah,
and
you're right.
be welcomed in and have dialogues with them.
But they won't start a dialogue with
But they won't.
with the community that I'm, with the guide dog
In which-
and with the disabled community.
Yeah, that's
and let's
wild.
speak for
That's
ourselves.
super
Wow.
wild. I'm glad you mentioned that, Nader. I think this is the highlight of this episode, bro.
A
Thank you for bringing it
community, a community in which one of the most famous members was defended by Allah above 7 heavens in the Quran.
up. Subhanallah.
Come on, guys. You know what I mean?
And like I said, I'm not here to cause drama. I said this in the video. I'm not about that. It's not my style. I'm not here to cause problems, but I am here to break down these barriers and knock down doors if I have to, because we are fed up of being disregarded and then only relegated to be brought out when you need to feel good about yourselves, when you need to raise money. And this is all done on the backs of the disabled community. And then when we tell you, okay, fine, but now we want our needs met and we need you to listen to our voices, it's like, oh no, you're a nuisance. You need to go back into your corner.
And
We're
the
done
thing
with
is,
that.
you guys mentioned Mohsen, which we listen. Whenever Mohsen needs a Braille Quran shipped out, they contact.
Well, they
Islam
can't
by
complete their
touch,
certification.
right?
They can't complete their Mattson certification without it.
but-
They
but-
need it as
but
it's one of their points.
The problem is, and this is as far as we know, is there's no disabled people on that board.
As far as we know.
You know what I mean? There's nobody. There's a bunch of people that can. It's like the analogy I gave.
The
It's
families
like
of the disabled, which is fine. You have your experiences.
was.
There's no way that even as a family, you're going to know what we are living day in and day out.
It's like the Catholic Church telling Muslims how to be Muslim. That's what it is.
That's a great point. They don't have anybody on the
No,
board.
but I mean,
disability?
Not to my knowledge. Not to our knowledge. I would have
So
to
the
go check, and I
founder-
do periodically check.
Sister
But
Juhi's kids are disabled.
You're right.
You're right.
Kids.
For the
Kid.
kids and being disabled are two
he
different
is
things.
not
They don't
disabled.
live-
Yeah.
There's
they don't
no
live for
way
kids.
that if you're not living it day in and day out, you're going to be able to speak for us. There's just
Yeah.
no way.
My wife is Puerto Rican. That doesn't
That's
mean
like
I'm
saying,
Puerto Rican.
That's like saying, you know what? I can lead a black
My wife's a
organization.
gynecologist, and I give out birth control pills.
Oh my Lord.
Hey, there's a woman on the show.
Anyways, I wanted to what's the next steps for you guys?
I don't-
Hold on. First thing is first. We need to make sure because one of these some of these social media influencers that are within the Muslim sphere have been getting messages from Valley Ranch saying that they've reached out to us to work on resolving the issue.
that has not happened.
That is not
I
happening.
feel like, where was
all.
I? When they reached out to the family, and I'm sitting here like, what family? Because it wasn't me. I didn't get a phone call, no email, and I'm easily. You may not have my number, but you can contact me through the Islam by Touch email. I'm readily available. I have gotten no contact.
So-
and as for Mohsen, I was asked what were they doing. Apparently, they were planning to have a call tomorrow, discussing all this. But the only reason we know about it is because my husband happened to text one of the co-founders, and then found out, oh yeah, we're going to be talking about this. How are you going to have a whole conversation about this and not include the people that it is affecting?
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Who can you name the social media influencer? Did they say they reached out to?
I don't know because and also she seems to be really supportive, and I don't want her.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what I
Like
mean?
this isn't. These
isn't
aren't
about
like
calling
the
names.
community. Like, look right here. Listen, we're having a conversation. We're talking about it. You know what I
The
mean?
community is very willing to listen, and it's like, okay, how can we help? It's the leaders that are just like, yeah, well, nope.
And this is where the pressure. What's the next steps? Keep putting pressure.
On the
'Cause
leaders.
pressure is either gonna make a diamond or bust pipes.
You know what's
and
crazy?
we're good with either scenario.
Time to bring a ruckus. You know what I mean?
Nader, you did on your last video. You had mentioned that you got recordings of everything, right?
I sure
Yes.
do.
Yep.
Yes, I do.
So, and I guess people, that information being shared. I know some people are like, well, are they gonna ruffle feathers? But I think at this point, y'all don't care, right? It doesn't matter.
No.
And that's what it's got to take.
And here's the
don't
thing,
care.
right? Like I have it, and I literally said in the video, my plan is not to use it and try it. I'm not here to make problems. I am here to try to make things better for a community that has been disregarded and neglected.
Because
okay, that's what I'm here for. And if it requires me to share these recordings and do something, then let's do this.
Because you got to understand why we have to record these conversations. Why? Because we're being told one thing, and the narrative is something completely different.
And it was proven when they were busy contacting influencers and social media people to say, yeah, no, we're resolving.
And then-
No, you're not.
And then
No,
what's
you're
gonna
not.
happen is you know, one of these boards is gonna come out with their blind version of Reza Aslan, right?
Who is going to say and behave in the way that they
They're
feel
blind,
comfortable
you know,
with.
that's gonna fit their narrative. You know, just like, you know, Reza Aslan comes out on CNN whenever they want to showcase a Muslim, right? That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna bring out their blind Reza Aslan and be like, see, look, this blind guy's cool with somebody guiding him everywhere he goes.
Right. And
why can't you accept it?
As we were talking,
You know, that's exactly what they're gonna do.
and this morning, yesterday
And we already
morning,
know somebody that's like that. That's already commenting against it, saying, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
and
you gotta
that's-
do this, you gotta do
right.
that. And that's like,
saying
bro.
that, you know, the only reason my husband was all mad is because they just disrespected your wife. I'm like, I'm sure he is, but this is bigger than that. This is so much bigger than that. And if you don't see that, then there's something. Then you need to go check what's going on with you.
We're running out of time. Nader, can you quickly give a plug-in for what you guys are doing at Islam by Touch, what your organization's about, and why people should support you guys?
Sure, of course. So Islam by Touch is the only organization in North America that is working and dedicated to making Islam accessible to the blind community. One way we've done this is by being the first to take a reliable English translation of the Quran and putting that into Braille and producing that and shipping that out around the world free of charge to blind people. Alhamdulillah, we have broke over 1,000 copies produced and shipped for free to blind people. We provide other services like da'wah to the blind community in an accessible format. So we give da'wah pamphlets to blind people at blind conventions. In Braille and large print and stuff like that. We actually give support to the blind community in different ways, like being there if they want to just talk because they have nobody to talk to,
Because that's another issue.
or because, you know, they're alone in their Muslim community. Nobody wants to talk to them unless, you know, they're looking for a good deed, pretty much.
So where can they go to support you guys, and what's a website?
IslamByTouch.com.
Yeah, you guys can go to islambytouch.com.
And
You
then
can
follow
follow
our
us on
social-
all the social medias at Islam by Touch. And if you want
Donate, you know, become a sustainer if you want. Donate whatever you can.
yeah, bro, because it's
To
the
support the
community
cause.
that's holding us down. So, Barakallah
Yeah, we're not
Feekum,
funded by
guys.
anybody else. We don't have
Yeah.
grants. It's all the community.
Yeah, it's all the community. So, Barakallah Feekum, like I said, Mamluks. I'm the unofficial one, right? I'm the Arab member, right?
Yo, you know, the thing is, I just want to say this. For all the people that are woke and listening to it, like, I wonder why this isn't part of a woke cause. Like,
That's another thing, bro.
we have
Yo,
said this so
you know how
many
many
times.
messages I've sent out to Linda Star Store? Like, hey, we're blind. Hello.
No, it goes back to what I was saying, how disability is the one community that anybody can become part of at any given moment, and that is why it's so uncomfortable. Nobody wants to deal with that.
These guys will go dance in a gay parade, but blind people, get away from me.
Nader, if you transition, I think Linda will start listening to you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, not happening.
I identify as
you start
Barack.
using pronouns?
That's pronouns, guys.
Yeah,
Guys,
start using
my pronouns is the
But
people's
listen, no,
champ.
see, because that kind of starts like deflecting. Like, I don't care what else you're supporting. The fact is that you're comfortable ignoring an entire community. That's where my issue lies.
That's very
No, I
important.
get that, sister. But my thing is, like,
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is, there's a whole lot of social justice activist Muslims out there
Yes.
for every kind of cause, right? And this seems to be the obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
This is the one where they won't get pushback. You know, the most. Like, they
Right.
can actually defend their position from an Islamic point of view.
But there's no support for it because
They
it's
don't wanna
very
do it.
uncomfortable for them. I don't want to have to acknowledge that. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
But, guys, Barakallah Feekum, guys.
Yeah,
we
thank you
appreciate
so much,
this
Nader.
opportunity.
Yadira,
Barakallah
thank
Feekum.
you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, inshallah, we'll have a dedicated episode with Nader when he comes to Chicago during his now.
She'll be here too.
All right,
So we
inshallah.
can both come in, inshallah.
Bismillah, man.
Is the dog gonna come in too?
Absolutely.
All right.
She's
Hey, by
coming.
the way, what kind of dog is it?
She's a black lab. You won't. She's
Oh.
off camera because she's literally. Here's real quick because I know we're running out of time. But these dogs are with us so much. They literally have to sleep in the same room because they can't be away from their handlers like that.
Okay.
So she's literally in the room to my right, sleeping on the floor.
I mean,
Quiet.
I'm
She
one
did
of
the whole
those few.
time.
I'm one of the few Muslims that have a problem with dogs. Like, I actually like dogs. So
No, dogs are
I'm cool with dogs. But wait, so just real quickly though, the seeing dog though, it's not normal for people to touch them, right? You can't like go around and pet them, right?
The appropriate protocol is to not touch, not look at, and completely ignore. If you want to interact, you only talk to the handler. You need to
okay, got
act
it.
as if that dog is not even there.
Cool.
Because what happens is you can distract the dog, and then that can put the handler in danger and get hurt.
Subhanallah.
Appreciate that.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Wow.
Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah.
Alaikum salam.
Awesome having you guys, man. Jazakallah khair for coming. Wow.
But guys, seriously, we need to have a dog conversation because I think it's become part of like, I don't know how Urf works. Full disclaimer, I'm a complete idiot regarding this stuff, but in terms of taking Imam Malik's, at least the strand of opinions related to that the saliva of the dog is not najis, that the dog can come and enter. Should that be something that the community in the West, in the UK and in the United States, in Canada, adopt as an opinion? Because I don't, like, if you want, like the other was saying, if you want people to convert in droves, people will not accept your religion if you can't accept their dog. It's just,
I mean, yeah.
it's such a part. It's become such a part of the fabric of this country to have a dog that they won't even consider your opinion or how truthful you are because the dog is considered as a family member. They'll have a funeral for this thing.
Yeah, but I think they draw a line
Yeah.
too, right? I mean, like, for example, like, I mean, because this is a thing for like someone who needs it, right? But just saying because people like dogs.
Well, we're
should-
not talking about. We obviously know that she needs it, right? And people who are have these disabilities, they need the dog.
Right.
We're talking about the overall objective of dawah in
And
this
that's where I
country,
disagree.
where the urf of this country,
Yeah, that's
this
what I
land.
agree, because I'm saying, like, for example, bro, like, I mean, there's a lot of urf things that are in this custom that people
Well,
want to
we
give
have a
up.
sheikh here. Hopefully, he can explain what
Yeah, but
When you make dogs permissible, can you also make earrings for men permissible too?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in the urf
Like,
too,
you know,
right?
I need some diamond studs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, look, we have to, the first thing is we have to have a clear dialogue for people in masjid establishments to understand, because there's still a lot of confusion amongst boards and amongst Muslim understanding of dogs themselves, right?
Yeah.
Is it the dog, like we heard on the podcast, people saying the dogs are najis. The dogs are not najis. The saliva is najis.
Yeah.
The dog itself, petting it is not najasa.
Yeah.
Right? So it actually goes to just think, I want you guys to think about through what Ali radiallahu anh said. He said, إِذَا كَانَ الدِّينَ عَلَى الرَّأِي. If the deen was based on logic, we would have to wipe on the bottom of the socks. He's talking about the khuf and not the top. So it's a matter of submission. So Islam is a matter of submission, not a matter of logic. The second thing is people converting in droves. The flip side to that would be that that's a submission and a sacrifice they would have to make to please Allah. Right? Because you can't have everything just because you want people to convert. I'm not saying you're saying this, because the objective of Islam is not to make everybody convert and people to convert in droves. It's about people to come into Allah in complete submission, right? So if there's certain things that's holding them back, like their dog, I'm not going to convert because no, we say, you know what, convert, but have the dog in your house if that's what's not stopping you. But you can't have Islam the way you want to have it. You can have a dog in your house, but you can still be Muslim. The same way we tell an alcoholic, says, man, I got to drink, man. I was like, hey, dude, you know what? It's better that you become Muslim and drink than not become Muslim at all, right?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of conversation that has to happen regarding these issues, right? Because we don't want, for the sake of people, again, I'm not saying you're saying this, for the sake of people and what their specific understanding or what their specific culture is, to change that so they can come into Islam.
Well, even if they're not, there's converts who are fighting with their parents and family members that they don't want a dog in their home because the dog is violating their prayer area and their Roman stuff, and it's causing a problem. So why wouldn't you want to utilize this opinion where it's within the framework of scholarly discussion that a dog's saliva is not najis and that a dog may live in your residence.
No, but the living in residence and saliva, the najasa of saliva are two different things. Those are two complete. So even if, like Imam Malik, in his opinion, never said that you can have a dog inside your house, he just said that the saliva is not najis.
Yeah.
The hadith of Rasulullah and what the fiqh we understand from it, those are two completely different topics. Yeah. One is the saliva is najis, and one having a dog inside of your house.
No, there are Malikis who have said that the dog can live with you if there's
No,
a
I heard that
benefit.
too, but I spoke to many
It's not the
Malikis.
it's not
Yasser Qadi has a great video on it. He's explained went into detail about it. He personally detests dogs. He doesn't want him around him.
He's a
but
desi.
yeah. I mean,
a
many of
brown
us are like that. But for example, I go to my in-laws' house. Right, their dogs love me. their dogs just come in, blah blah, and I'm just like,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
everywhere
having a
and-
dog. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with having a dog as a pet,
Yeah.
as long as it's not in living in the close quarters. That's what the majority opinion of scholars
Yep.
in the Muslim world from the beginning to our time now is that you can have a dog, you just can't live in your living quarters unless if it's temporary, if it's sick, or if you need to give it a bath, and you can only do it in the house, like in the winter and stuff. But it can't be its permanent residence where you're constantly living.
Yeah.
But you can't not have a dog.
Can you
have
do
a
a,
dog.
can you do a
you-
home where you have like almost like like a sliding, like a separate section?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what-
as
that's
long
what
as
it
it's
is?
reserved for the dog. Yeah.
check
My
out
uncle, my uncle used to do that. He had to be in Auburn, Illinois, at a farm,
Yeah.
and so he had a separate, like you know how you have a backdoor patio and then there's a enclosed
Yeah.
sunroom area.
Yeah.
That was entirely for the dogs.
Yeah,
So
but this is different, guys. We have to remember to our listeners, somebody who needs it and it's a necessity that
Yeah.
that completely changes
Right,
the rules
right.
for a lot of.
No, I just want a dog just because I just want to look hard in the hood.
No,
You could
so
get one, though.
yeah, Yasser Qadi talks
You don't
about
even
it.
live in the hood, bro. What are you talking about?
No, but you could get it. No,
Hold on, bro.
no, but
Before we transition
no,
into
but
his
wait,
issue,
wait. This is part of the issue, though. So there's nothing wrong with having a dog.
I'm gonna give me a pit bull and a
It's
Rottweiler, and you might be
where,
good.
it's about where you keep the dog.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is, and what
Yeah.
what is najasa on the dog itself, the touching or
It's the saliva. It's just the
yeah.
saliva.
But what I'm saying is that owning a dog itself is not a problem in Islam.
Yeah.
So if you want a dog just because you want to feel cool like DMX or something, go ahead and do it as long as you meet the conditions.
no, do you know what he said though? He's like, I want a dog to look hard in the hood. I was like, man, this brother don't even live in the hood, bro. He lives in Burbank or something.
Yeah, Hickory Hills.
Oh,
represent.
sorry, Hickory Hill. That sounds even more
Then the
posh.
heroes, baby.
Yeah. No,
No.
there has to be dialogue. But this is an eye opener, man. I'm glad they came on. I'm glad you brought them on, bro. I'm glad they wanted to come on because this is really, really going to up the game of masajid. And if they have a heart, which they're supposed to, if they're running a masjid, they have to make accommodations. And like she said, bro, she just wants a dialogue, dude.
Yeah.
Don't write them off. That's super disrespectful, dude.
Yeah. So I encourage everyone. I'm going to post a link that. Yasser
And they are
Qadi-
getting a dialogue. Sheikh Yasser Burjas did tell Nader that, hey, like, let's set up time to talk. At the same time, he said the decision is final, but I'm still wanting to learn about it too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it's at.
So I'm going to post a link to Yasser Qadi's lecture regarding this because he goes into really detail, and I was just like blown away by how much detail he goes into this whole
Yeah,
subject.
post it, brother.
And in the end, his conclusion was that if there is a benefit to it, then do it. And if there's like, for example, there's people who are like veterans who've accepted Islam, right? They need the dog for emotional comfort.
Of course,
and if
yeah.
it's just as simple as emotional comfort that benefit is needed, then have it. I'll go ahead and post that in the episode
Please.
description so you guys can check it out. We have a major announcement on the show,
Major announcements. Are paying attention, guys.
and in continuing the tradition of the Bengali community and the East Bangladeshi traditions of breaking away and rebellion.
The
And
Khuruj.
Mahin, go ahead and tell
Yeah, so this is my last episode as co-host of the Mad Mamluks. I think I told you guys, was it 2 Sundays ago? I think
Yeah,
it
2
was.
weeks
Yeah.
Something that has been in my thoughts for a while. I guess probably last 5 to 6 weeks or something. Obviously, it's and I'm glad I wanted to talk about it on the show because I have my own podcast and people. Unfortunately, our community has a bad habit of like assuming the worst thing possible. It's like, oh, you almost had some beef or some fallout. There's no beef. It's like really, I think it happened around the time I was thinking about like, you're getting busier at work. My daughters, I got to start committing more time to some of their stuff. It is a hike to come out here. It's like a 40-minute drive. I don't think the show is done justice by me calling on remote if you guys are in the studio. We've tried that a couple times. The vibe isn't the same. And it almost feels like sometimes when you're podcasting, you got a full-time job, you get your other commitments, the gym, whatever.
2 podcasts in your situation.
Yeah, and you're half-assing 2 podcasts. That's what essentially is. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. So I was like, listen, let me take some of that time away from Mad. And at the end of the day, I don't think I ever felt like I was ever gonna leave Mad Mamluks. It was like I didn't think because it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I always thought like, oh, we could do Sultans and Mad Mamluks. And I think when I started Sultans and Sneakers, I always thought maybe we could could leverage podcasting to be a full-time thing, right? And then you come to realize, well, yeah, that day's not coming right now, right? We're just gonna I still gotta have a job. I like my job, so I'm not one of those people that I think when I started Sultans, I didn't really like the place I was working at that much. So I was thinking okay, maybe that's what I want to push, be a full-time podcaster. Then there's no problem having 2 podcasts, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's kind of what it's about. But I just wanted to clarify, just to make it out there. So there's I'll miss these guys. it'll be interesting to see how your guys' dynamic changes
Yeah.
with the 3 hosts and stuff.
Yeah,
We're gonna have tryouts for your replacement, like Joker did with when he snapped the
Yeah.
the cue stick in half, and whoever shows up here, like, just try out.
Yeah.
Or maybe we don't need. Maybe we don't need. It could just be us 3.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it'll be an interesting dynamic. So it is. I told Sim that if there would be a if you need me for something, there's like a guest coming that, hey Maheen, I need you for, hit me up. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't mean you'll never see me on this platform again, but just as a regular co-host probably means you're stepping away.
Yeah, man. And like, no, honestly, dude, having you a part of this podcast, realize like I didn't know that Muslim Desis had like so many friends, like so many acquaintances, because especially in the beginning and even now, like you were like our connect guy of getting us guests and stuff, and I was like, dude, how the heck does he know all these people?
Yeah.
Right. So your culture,
Hey, it wasn't
your
just his connections. I mean, he was like someone I could rely on in so many cases where I show's about to happen and he'll fly over here in 45 minutes and come over here, and I like, even if I'm not even well versed on a certain topic, he'll make sure that he's informed. So I definitely had to, when he first told me that he's going to leave, I had to really sit back and like really think about all the dynamics that'll
Good
change.
job, bro. You made him sad, dude.
Yeah, because
Maheen.
But in some ways, Sim and I were talking about it, saying I don't mind sharing this. Is like kind of, I think that he always wanted us. The Muzzy Buzz started. He always wanted us to start our own platforms too. To because there's so much more. I think when you start your own channel, you realize if for Sultan Sneakers, the only thing I had to do is just like show up and just talk mess.
Yeah.
I could probably still do both podcasts. But then you understand the production side of things. Because with Mad Mamluks was, the thing of it is like I could just literally just drive 40 minutes, listen to the guest stuff on the way here, and be ready for it. I'm like, all right, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And then we just keep going. And that's the fun part of the recording. Yeah. The real grind is the behind the scenes stuff where you're like dealing with, and I remember because you handle the inbox. So you deal with all the people's crap.
Yeah.
I remember we used to have the inbox. We used to always share the inbox. So there would be sometimes you get messages from people and people were always hating. Or there was that one sister that like, there was one email from like 3 years ago. I remember that Anissa Jacobs or whoever that person was.
I got a special email for you guys after the show. Make sure you remind me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So like there were these ones that would just call us out. They were like, I can't believe you guys talk about second wives all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, both of you you're so ugly, and one of you is extremely fat. I was like,
inshallah, Anissa become the second wife.
You know what I'm saying? So, but there was a lot of that. But I think it taught me that hey, there's a lot more. Probably tested this too with Muzzy Buzz. There's so much work you got to do behind the scenes, right?
I'll be honest, bro. I'm the most lazy person.
Mark don't want to do that. So
no, listen, I just show up and talk, bro. Yeah. I don't plan anything.
You don't even rewatch it, do you?
No, I don't watch anything. I put it out. Once I put it out, I put it out. It is. It's like, but I mean, I understand. Like some people, like they have to edit. They have things like that's time consuming. Yeah. And I know what.
I remember in the beginning, I told out to Sim, remember our first audio?
Yeah.
And me and Maheen would be talking about something. I was like, all right, don't worry, Sim, just edit that out. And you just had to pause the show. You're like, dude, do you know what editing out means? It's not like I could just click a button and it just edits out. I have to go through everything. I got to cut it out, make sure it matches,
make sure it flows.
Yeah, make sure it flows. Yeah.
Sometimes it's obvious that sometimes people can tell if they're really careful. They'll know something was edited out. Yeah. Or there's an abrupt stop or something.
I remember we had to tell Sim to just calm down, relax. I mean, like, because he was really tense and he's a perfectionist.
Yeah, but that's what made it continue, though. You see a lot of people that start podcasts, they only do 3 or 4 episodes.
I get that. But what I'm saying, though, is that, like, the Maheen's correct in a way. It's a different ballgame. Like, if you want to be at a certain level, like, Muzzy Bus for me is just it's whatever. I don't do anything for it, really. It's not like I don't have aspirations to take it to a level like global, right?
It's just your hobby.
But this is something that we actually want to put out for people to come back, reference, have conversations, derive some super benefit from, right? So that requires effort. It requires production, it requires equipment, it requires editing, thumbnailing. All that stuff sounds easy, but every time, day in and day out, week after week, right? You got to do that. So it happens, and so it's tough, right? I've been fortunate where I just show up here and just talk.
Yeah.
On Sunday course, I just show up and talk, right?
The idea was kind of following like the Young Turks model and other back when they were cool, not now. They're kind of.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of draw inspiration from other podcasters and how they create little networks of, because when you have, we all have a limited amount of time to speak on the show, and you don't get all your thoughts out and how, basically you don't get your time that you should really get on the show because it's just too many people talking, right? So the idea was that you guys have your own platforms and you set that up, and we all benefit from that platform. You improve your skills and your communication and all that. You just become better at your craft because you can't really do that on the show when everyone's kind
I see what you're
of
saying.
fighting to talk,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's why the Muzzy Buzz and Sultans and Sneakers were created, so that it's not just that they have their own platform, but they're also like critiquing and evaluating themselves and trying to up their game and bring it all up together. So that was a vision, and I'm glad Mahin is still improving that, and he's doing some great. His last podcast was off the wall, amazing.
I didn't watch it yet. I gotta save for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyone who hasn't listened to his last episode, you have to go listen to Yasser Khadi and who else was Dr. Shadi
and
Hassan Shigley.
Hassan
Yeah.
Shibli. Great discussion. Make sure you guys go and like and subscribe his podcast. Forever grateful to everything that you've done.
Yeah, man,
I've
for
told
sure.
him privately, but in public, it's worth mentioning. So much of our success was attributed to his work and what he had
Mashallah.
done for our show. And yeah,
Getting emotional.
yeah.
We're about to go eat right now. I got an order from
Yeah.
Nay that's on deck.
So to be honest, this is I hate to say this, but unfortunately, the weirdo freak, blue hair freak feminist had a win today because Mahin's leaving the head Mamluk.
Well, the other channel,
So
the other channel's still gonna be there. You know what I'm saying?
I guess today
So now-
is a day of Eid for the blue haired freaks.
Well, sorry, because now Sultan's essentially is gonna be like exclusively. I only platform cis white men. No, but real talk. I think that's what I want to thank the listeners too. It's been fun to meet everybody, and I will continue to meet everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not a thing. It doesn't mean that. I think the heart. Sheikh Amar's like, you're still gonna come and hang out. I'm like, yeah, we're still gonna come and hang out, but we gotta make time. We still gotta make time for that kind of
For sure, dude.
Definitely, the Power Rangers have lost their White Ranger or whatever, Brown
The
Ranger.
Republican White Ranger we lost.
yeah, for sure.
So we're going to be missing a limb. We'll try to figure out how to
It's all right, bro.
remediate that. But
There's a lot of
anyway,
pieces, inshallah.
inshallah, we'll.
Hey,
we'll
but I'll be happy I get more space here though. So
For sure, no doubt.
all right, guys. Help us out by clicking on like, subscribe, and comment on the comment section below with who you think should replace Mahin on this podcast platform now.
oh yeah, and then next week I'll be picking that one subscriber who's gonna have who get a steak meal on me for the Islam.
For Islam,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's still
Keeping up.
on. I
Yeah,
thought
I've
we had to
been
get
keeping up.
20K.
No, I've been keeping on. I'm gonna reward some, somebody.
Yeah.
People have been commenting. I feel bad, right? So
Yeah. So
we're not-
whoever is a subscriber right now is eligible.
It
Yeah.
has to be a male subscriber.
well,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe the parting gift we can get a female. Come along with you.
I got a room at Isna too.
For dawah purposes, guys.
No, we are male chauvinists. We eat only with males when it's in our own time.
All right, guys.
Inshallah, yeah, we'll be picking that out next week. To keep tuned next week starting next week, we'll be leaving that Zoom link. So all those crazy people that want to email Sim, just come on live and speak to me. So you don't have to trouble him, and we can get it done. All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.